Well, hi guys. How's it going? On Paddles Up Sunday. Well, what's happening?
Why don't you tell them about the picture behind us?
In case you're wondering, this is one of my latest paintings, you guys. Right here, it's like a vintage microphone, and there's actual honeycomb and honey coming out. You know, honey represents revelation, goodness, all that kind of stuff, which we could go into further, but that is what this one's here. I'm going to be starting a series of musical instruments and things with the honeycomb and the honey coming out, and the subtitle of it's called How Sweet the Sound. So thanks to Meyer, he came up with that. So anyway, in case you were wondering, so it's an acrylic painting.
Yeah, we wanted to just check in and see how everybody's doing before this big week of reconnecting with the fam, or whatever your event or gathering is throughout the year. We just wanted to chime in and just share some thoughts from our journey and what it means to reconnect with our true, genuine selves, as opposed to having to put on a layer of a mask or a costume or an avatar to try and survive.
Right?
Yeah, trying to survive a situation, a family group, gathering, whatever it may be, holiday. I know this is a challenge for a lot of us to face that fear or face the gravity of the situation, especially when it may not be somebody that you want to face. So this can apply to any area of life, and we want to just talk about this from a higher perspective and then dial it down to the reality. So when you look at time, throughout time, there was a great disconnect in the garden. And when you look at that whole story, no matter what you're looking at, no matter what text you're looking at, this story, there's always this beautiful story that goes back to the Garden of Eden. So there's been a lot of debate as to what that looks like, or if it's allegory, if it's true. Let's just say that it's true. Okay, there's a big disconnect that happened because of why? Something changed and shifted within Adam's makeup where he made a decision. And decisions are hugely important nowadays, especially in the pace that we're going. In fact, it's moving so fast now, Meg.
Right.
You know this. Good to see you, Meg. It's moving so fast now that we're having awakening after awakening after awakening all throughout our day.
Yeah, you almost feel like your face is like, you know, when people are in that jet and it's like, whoa, you know?
Yeah, the 5G's coming.
Yeah.
The 5G's against your face. So in the garden, there's a great disconnect, right? We know that. And then what was some of the language surrounding it? As far as we know, it looks something like, you know, Adam, you are made perfect and you're complete. Why would you look another way, or why would you turn your face another way to move into the egoic veil or the construct that says that you have to work for everything? You can't add up, you know.
Or that there's more out there.
There's more, or there's this great disconnect, right? And so that's been the struggle. And so then what was the answer? It wasn't as if God was cursing Adam because he broke that beauty in the nature garden. It was Adam's own decision, his own choice to side with the egoic veil or construct.
Or the false matrix.
And create the illusion that there was separation, right? There's never been separation. There was an illusion that the ego puts up in front of us even today that says that you are separate from God, or that you have to climb your way or earn your way back into the sweet spot. And we're finding out in our journey that it's more about surrendering back to the 3-year-old us, the authentic, genuine, playful us, so that you live a life of wonder, adventure, and intrigue, rather than trying to survive. You know, when children, some of you know this listening to this very well about your children. Your children don't sit there and say, how am I going to pay the bills? Where am I going to get the next, rent from? How am I going to make it tomorrow at work? Yeah. Of course, that seems silly because they are children. But this is why Jesus talked a lot about becoming childlike, is because there's innocence. We're returning to innocence, guys. We're returning back to innocence, in case you didn't know.
That is why we're at a rapid rate of all this stuff peeling off and things being brought up. It was so cool yesterday. We heard somebody say it so well. And I'm sure by now a lot of you guys have heard about the difference, of the 3D moving into 4D and 5D, and how he was saying, like, if you're listening to this, you're already in 5D, and here's the symptoms, fifth dimensional living. The symptoms are purge and reckoning. Purge and reckoning all day long.
All day long.
Purge, and then the stuff comes up, like things you need to let go of, release, forgive, resentment, scenarios. All these things are just coming up. Emotions, trapped emotions, anxiety. I don't know about you guys, but I've had so much in this last month, so much anxiety like coming up. And I know in myself, it's like not me. And it's either stuff that was trapped in my cells or because of the times we're living in and entities and things that love to supply from your egoic energy. They're out there, you guys. It really is. And so they want to keep us in this false matrix, this low density, right? So if they can keep us at a low density level of shame, guilt, insecurities, all these different things, then that supplies an energetic supply for them. And so when we're purging and getting rid of this stuff, reckoning with issues or belief systems that would keep us in that low density, they're freaking out because just like a narcissist, their supplies are getting cut, right? And so, of course, they're going to keep trying to, these whispers, try to keep you in the guilt, shame, try to add this pressure, these feelings or scenarios around to try to keep you in that same soup, right? And so it's a really, really interesting dynamic. And so again, as your soul and spirit are purging and reckoning and ascending, coming up through this, it's pretty intense. Again, and you feel like you're in that jet of suction. You know, you're moving forward, yet all this stuff's pulling back, but you're accelerating.
Whether you feel it or not, whether you think it or not.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. And so when you're looking at being in a group of people and there's energy, quote, vampires, we hear that, right? And it's sucking life out of you, sucking the wind out of you. Just know that it's revealing something to you.
Yeah.
So when we look towards, when we face the fear, when we look towards the thing we don't want to do, and we sit there and we go, okay, what do I do with this? This could be my end. Even you could be facing something very difficult. And you're looking at it and say, look, if I don't get out of this, I feel like it's over with, I'm done. Mm-hmm. Some of you are dealing with that severity of things, right? But it's the illusion to say that if you do face it, it's going to get worse. And so all that love and God is asking us for is to face it and then welcome that feeling. See, the church does a very, very poor job, religion as a whole, does a very poor job of brushing off our emotions and feelings. Because after all, you can't go by any of that. Nope. You have to go by what Scripture says. Can I just tell you that that's one of the biggest downfalls that we've ever heard in church? Because why is that? Well, emotion is energy in motion. And when you have somebody that's very emotional, and in some circles, you see this in church settings, I can see why the pastor or the leaders look at emotional people and they're just like, hey, we're not going there. We're going to shut that down and you're going to listen to chapter and verse. And the problem with that is that the energy and motion of the emotion needs to be to go beyond the veil of that and sit with the feeling. See, we don't look at our emotion and say, what do I do with this? You just cast it out or heal it. The only way to heal it is to feel it.
Yeah, you gotta heal it.
The only way to heal it
is to feel it to heal it.
Yeah, feel it, heal it to feel it. Feel it to feel it to heal it.
And it goes even deeper than that. We're not just feeling it, right? We are actually hearing a message. So the universal language from the very beginning of time has been vibration. It's how we feel. That's your intuitiveness, right? We all hear this inner voice or that inner prompt, that intuitiveness. That is the language of the earth, of humanity, animals, humans, everything. And so when we return back to that current of actually sitting and feeling instead of stuffing, running, pushing, pulling, we actually sit and ask, what is the message you're trying to tell me? Like actually give it that time. And I'm telling you guys, it's amazing. All it needs is to be heard and to be welcomed in with love and acceptance, and then it dissolves. Then it's like message sent.
That's it.
All right, delete.
It doesn't take a long hours of deliverance. Yeah, it's like Carrie said, pastors telling women who are emotional need deliverance. You know, if leaders or people that are around them, pastors, whoever, would just give people space to actually move through, just like she's saying, to move through the emotion, the chaos of the emotion. It's like a cell. A doctor described this so well. It's like a cancer cell. What does cancer do? It actually isolates itself into that cell.
That's what creates a cancer cell. This is so mind-blowing.
It isolates itself, and then
it's been isolated by
it's been isolated by the disease or and it turns into cancer. What does it do? It's separating itself.
Forgot who it was.
It forgot who it was in the larger cluster of the whole. So the greater part of who it was. So this is what the ego does. It tries to make us believe that we are separate. Isolation. So it isolates itself, and then it causes this illusion of separation right in the same body of cells. That because it's still a cell.
But and it's been disconnected. So what causes the isolation is the disconnection.
That's right.
It can no longer get the signals of healing. It can no longer get its signals and cries for help out into the body anymore either. And so it's becoming more and more isolated out by the factors of how, what we put in our body, contributing our emotion and our beliefs. All of that is culminating and pushing it further and further away. So now it forgets who it is. And therefore, the rest is history. And so it's phenomenal, the mind-body connection. But nonetheless, this is what kind of goes back to the very beginning of separation. It's called the original wound. And where, we left the garden, we left that safe place. Now we're getting this false matrix on us of believing we are a separate self or no longer one. Now we got to sweat, toil, and annoyances of making a living, paying the bills. Why can't I live my dream now? Dealing with all the frustrations of life. And
because it causes resistance. And
feeling like God is mad at us, or I can't hear God, or I'm not good enough to hear God, or I need to do enough, right? We learn in religion, you got to do, and to connect with God, and it's just...
It causes more of the illusion of separation. The truth of the matter is that the woundedness within us is what tries to isolate. And sometimes we need to isolate, just like the wounded animal does
to come away. There's a difference.
To come away. In the isolation is to move away from a group of people, if you can. You can't ultimately leave your family. I guess you could. But to come away from that so that you can see the contrast and the difference of what's going on in the moment and see the message in it, like Amy said. What is the message? Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's really good to isolate so that we can heal and see it in a different perspective and read the message that's coming up so that we can go into a situation fully with our heart wide open because we know what's going on now. It's like the and there's no resistance attached because resistance is deadly. It only creates a worse situation when we resist our family members, when we resist the people that are around us, whether they're coworkers or a spouse. When we resist, it actually persists and makes it a bigger issue than it really is. The idea is to lose resistance by facing and allowing and welcoming. And then we see the message and we move through it in the dissolution, the dissolving of it. And so when some of you heard the last message about my monk seal story, facing my greatest fear underneath the dark, murky waters and facing an angry monk seal coming up. And then the ice freezes over. Like hell freezes, but it's the ice. I'm in hell underneath the water, right? So the idea is to turn towards it and say, okay, how do I dissolve this fear? Because after all, this is the end. When you feel like, this is the end. So when you feel like it's the end, what are your choices? The only thing you can do is just paddles up, put your hands up and say, okay, surrender. I'm facing this and I'm going to allow the situation to be handled through trust. When that happens, something very miraculous takes place. It actually begins to turn and serve you because the dissolution or the dissolving, the dissipating of that dark glass or that shadow clears the path. The energy of who we are, the spirit of who we are begins to dissolve the fear. Perfect love casts out fear, if you want a scripture for that. And then you begin to be served in a way that you're getting your energy back, and then your energy begins to compel you out to freedom. It actually, the monk seal turned and popped a hole in the ice to let me out because I turned and faced it and welcomed it into the greater part of who I am, the spirit, the light of who I am, the light of Christ. So then it began to make a way out. Some of you are facing such fear of the future of your family gatherings. You're facing fear of the future, what's going to happen next. And you may not want to admit that because you're so hyper spiritual, or you're just like, oh, I got it all together. Look, Amy and I tell you what, lately we've just been said, look, we're a hot mess sometimes, and there's no reason to deny it. But
we're having to just give each other great grace and comfort each other while this,
that's right.
Again, purge reckoning. It's like steps, purge reckoning, you know?
Yeah, like Amy said, she's been dealing with a lot of anxiety, but she knows it's not who she is.
Yeah.
It's just the egoic veil.
And generational stuff.
Trying to keep her in it.
Oh, man. Some of us are having to purge generational things that our family members and grandparents and all that line didn't ever change course with. And so, and then a lot of times that's why we've come, is to help our lineage line to right things. But nonetheless, and some of us, we are actually empathing and feeling what all of humanity is going through. And so we're picking up on all that stuff as well. And so it's just can be a bit overwhelming. And I mean, what we're finding God is constantly reminding us to do is allow the now, right? Because it's so easy for us to want to go backwards or forwards. And that's what the ego will do, because there is no oxygen for the ego in the now, because that's where your spirit resides. That's where your eternal being is. You're in the now, then you're in the now again, then you're in the now again. So that is the sweet spot. Yeah. But we all know, wow, does that take a new habit and discipline, because everything is pulling us forward in wants, needs, and desires, or backwards and regrets and everything else. Yeah. So yeah, just have that grace. And so we're just, constantly learning, allow the now, and then to have fun and play, because it pops our heads off right now, pops us out of the head, drops us back into our heart and spirit to where the flow is. So,
and here's the proof of that part. Some of you may be thinking, I can't play and create because I'm in survival mode. How in the world do I surpass this or move into creative or play mode? And play is different for everyone. Whatever your play is, it could be different from ours. Getting out into nature and playing.
Your favorite music
picking on. Whatever it may be. If you can't get out in nature, it just could be something that follows your excitement or your play. So we've proven this to be true, that you can move beyond it. Yeah. Because when you engage in it, it's a choice. It's just a simple decision and choice to say, wait a minute, who am I going to side with today?
Yeah.
Am I going to side with the egoic survival side of my life that is constantly being upgraded and healed, by the way, without us even realizing it, because we are in ascension. We're in full-blown awakening and ascension all across the planet. Everybody is.
Every human, every creature, the whole planet itself.
And so you have a choice. You can choose to survival, more of the same, or you can break the pattern and step into, on purpose, going and playing or creating, whatever that is for you. Maybe some of you are artists. Maybe some of you love to go out and go buying, riding horses, whatever it is. Choose that. Choose it, whatever you can. It may not be extreme. It could be just like ours. Go make some cookies, whatever it is that gives you joy. And what that does is it breaks the pattern of the ego harping on you, saying it's never going to change. It's always going to be the same.
Yeah.
More of the same in 2020,000, And, here comes another new year. Do we have to do another 40-day fast thing?
When is this going to change?
Yeah.
Am I ever going to change? Are they ever going to change? Is this ever going to change? And again, we have to go in. All the answers and keys are within. And we can choose to change. And as we choose to change, things move around us and change. And so, yeah. Yeah,
no, actually, play heals the ego. We've discovered. Because if we kill something that's kept us alive this long, then you kind of be defeating the purpose. We want to heal the ego is what we've discovered.
He's reading Theo's comment on here.
Yeah.
So play kills the ego, question mark?
Play heals the ego. The ego is fight, flight, and freeze. It's the
false matrix.
It's
that veil of false matrix.
It's a little child in us too that is dealing with trauma. So I liken it like this: if you look at the little boy in you that was hurt and wounded, or the teenager, whoever that was that dealt with trauma, You don't want to kill that little boy or that little teenager. You want to heal him. So we do it. We just send love to that part of us that's always screaming for attention, meaning I have to have this need met, or, I have wants and needs and desires and preferences, right? So to live by preferences is to live outside of our true self of living in the now where everything's provided.
Yeah. And
think about that.
Most of suffering comes by our preferences, expectations, broken expectations, disappointments. All of our suffering comes from that. And it's just crazy. Mm-hmm. Again, because we're not allowing the now and accepting it and allowing ourselves to feel what we're feeling too. And so we're just, again, reaching. And this is one of the grand things that are being purged in us and humanity as a whole, is this consumerism for everything outside of ourselves, instead of going within and seeing we are completely whole beings inside, just like the acorn. Everything is in the acorn, right? It's just a matter of its planting and expansion. So we are the acorn. We're just in growing and expanding all the time. So
yeah, and so when you look at it this way, you guys, we used to believe, when the scripture says to crucify your flesh, right? We used to mean that would mean, okay, do whatever it takes to stop sinning, okay, because of what religion tells you to do. And so, if your eye sins, pluck it out. Are you really going to gouge your eye out? What he was saying is those were metaphors for saying, look, your spirit is way bigger and more powerful. Christ in you, your spirit, how you were designed and made, is as big as the cosmos. But you're just individualized, shoved in a can called a body, right? If you want to look at it that way. And canned tuna. So what's going on there is to crucify the flesh means that I'm healing the side of me that needs healing. And so the flesh has impulses that could be evil. Yes, Theo. The ego is not, you're saying the ego is not evil. Well, it can. Impulses, those things that I leave unchecked in me that are wounded, they're screaming for attention and want what they want when they want them. Just like Paul said, I do those things that I don't want to do. Why? Because when we allow the power to be served into something that is actually an illusion, i.e. the ego, then we dim our light, so to speak, because we're letting that wounded part of us lead. And a lot of people are doing this unconsciously. Oh, man. They're just in survival mode, trying to get the next paycheck, trying to work things out with their family members and begging others to just say, why don't you want to love me? Why don't you pay attention to me? Kind of thing. And that's all begging comes straight out of ego. EGO, edging God out, edging grace out, edging goodness out, edging the greater part of us out. Saying, be quiet, I'm driving the car. And it's like having your 6-year-old that is traumatized drive the car. Some are worse traumatizations than the others, right? Letting him drive the car. Now, would you let your 6-year-old drive the car once you're aware of it? Many people are just letting the 6-year-old drive the car and they're not even aware of it. And they're wondering why they're crashing into things, going, why doesn't anybody love me? Why doesn't anybody want me? Why doesn't everybody pay attention to me? Why?
Victim. Oh.
Oh, Lord, why? 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 Oh, why?
Oh, why?
And so we're taught in religion land to crucify and crush and destroy and strangle.
Our ego loves that because it's a power trip. It's a power trip, but...
Do whatever it takes. Gouge your eye out. Cut off your arm. Lop it off with a pair of shears because it's sinning so much, right? I've got all this lust build up. Well, lop that baby off. What good's that going to do? Because you're still going to lust.
Yeah, because this thing's still happening. The mind.
See, what are you going to do? Cut your head off? Mm-hmm. Right? You cut one off, you cut the other one out, you know what I'm saying? So the ego, we've discovered so far on our journey as we're awakening every hour, that
purge,
reckoning. And so we've discovered that little Johnny in here wants what he wants and he wants it now. I can't give Johnny candy all the time because little Johnny's going to run around and really cause a lot of chaos if I allow that. So anyway, that's kind of the egoic structure. Hopefully that makes sense to you because we're taught in religion that that the flesh is evil, right? But that's like calling yourself evil. God didn't make evil
Yeah.
in us. God didn't make evil this way. Our bodies are not evil. This is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And if we don't see ourselves that way, guess what? You look in any church and 3/4 of the people are just toe up from the flow up.
Yeah.
I mean, serious.
And way too serious. Way too serious, you guys. I don't know where we came under this assumption that seriousness is equal to spirituality. I am the guru, you follow me, and it just, everything's serious. I'm doing God's work, And if any of you have connected with Jesus in a personal relationship, he is the most hilarious, witty, full of sense of humor, and so kind, and so playful, so giving, so generous. And Papa God is like the same way. They are just, and Holy Spirit, the whole divine support team, angels. Yes, there's some angels that are more serious because they're, protectors. But I am telling you, it's another demise. It's another thing of the ego. Ego wants to keep you serious because it's another power trip. It's another thing of you, getting your badges and doing your efforts. And joy, yes, Terry, joy is the most powerful weapon there is because it's a frequency, right? The whole thing's an energy game. So when we're in this seriousness and control and rigidness, watch the meter, guys. We have now dropped down into low density. When we are playing and we're joyful, we're following the trail of our highest excitement, that we're actually allowing ourselves to do something fun and dance and listen to some music, enjoy some, watch the meter.
Paint something, create something.
Watch the meter go up. And now you're infectious to everybody else, and they're like, wow, what are they doing? Why are they so happy?
And this is when magnetism,
like
heart, mind-heart coherence kicks in.
Heart opens.
Heart opens, and the heart will bring us everything we could want and ever need, ever, in time. Mm-hmm. It will give us money. It will bring us relationships. It will bring. You don't have to chase anything down. In fact, it's been said that if somebody's in their full-blown heart, and I know what preachers have said about the heart being desperately wicked. Let me explain that in a second. Yeah. I'll explain that in a second. But when our heart's fully open and we've moved from the intellectual, analytical side that tries to figure things out, and we drop in and we live from the heart space with the head serving the heart, you can be in a locked room with 50,000 chains all over that thing and not be able to leave, and you will be brought everything that you need and then some.
Yeah.
I.e. the example of them being locked in the prison. Guess what happens? They dropped into their heart and started singing, and the prison doors open. That was literally impossible to take place in the natural. Yeah. But that's what happens. And let me touch on John the Baptist's head getting cut off. You know what that was symbolic of? The head getting lopped off was, John in essence was saying, hail, here comes authenticity. Authenticity is going to come onto the scene. You don't have to live out of your head anymore because it's not working for me. So here comes the Spirit, the greater part of who we are. Hail the King of authenticity. Showing us that authenticity. That's what Christ did. He pointed us towards the greater part of who we are, authenticity. That authenticity would actually be the heart fully blown wide open, bypass what the head has been dictating, and live in a miraculous state every second of the day, just like Jesus did when he walked the earth. We want to know where the miracles went? Guys, you know what sin is? Sin is disharmony and believing something false about yourself.
Yeah.
That's all it is. And so if we're in disharmony and believing something false about ourselves, that stops the miracles. When we're in disharmony, that's where we start smoking crack and all that kind of stuff to whatever your vice is. But the church focuses on those fallen things like you better stop having sex, you better stop smoking that crack.
Symptoms.
Those are the symptoms of misalignment and disharmony. Those are the symptoms of believing a lie about yourself, i.e. the ego telling you who it thinks it is, who it thinks you are. So John the Baptist was like, guys, living out of the head is dead. It's making me dead. In fact, it's going to kill me. Whop, there goes his head. Because he was preaching authenticity in the face of egoic posturing. See, the Pharisees and Sadducees are a full-blown egoic stance. And you know what will happen when you're in full-blown ego? You'll want to kill somebody.
Yeah, because you got to defend your pride.
Oh Lord, we're seeing that all over the place right now. We see it in dictators all over the world. You see it in dictators in the church. You see it in dictators outside of the church. You see it in dictators driving in the car and looking in the rear view mirror. And if you allow it to go that far, guess what? You will look at that person on the side of the road and want to swerve over there and take them out, right? Have you ever had thoughts about that?
The fight
Not
to
that
be
you
right.
want to admit it.
A fight to be right.
Oh Lord, this is where the rubber hits the road.
Purge and reckoning.
Purge and reckoning. Purge and reckoning.
We should name it this.
Yeah, we should retitle. We should retitle it to Purge and Reckoning.
It's such a wonderful feeling, yeah, crazy at the same time, right?
Look, guys, you know what? Some of y'all, including us, we've
what did we?
We've had moments of real financial prosperity and blessing, and then the next moment plunge down to zero, overdraft, right? You've been there,
God,
and then you're like, wait a minute,
happening? This is not who we are. What is this
not
being
who we
allowed?
are.
Where are you? What is happening?
I've been in the corporate world working with senior living for a long time, doing contract work, and it's not my the highest, funnest thing to do, but what I like about it is the leadership part, because I lead teams.
And it's skill sharpening.
Yeah.
Definitely people skills sharpening, that's for sure.
Yeah, I lead large teams and things like that. And it provides a decent income, up to, I've made up to like a couple $100,000, close to a couple $100,000 a year. But you work for it, and then at times where those contract assignments will end, and there's this long span of not having any dough. And so then you try to put your hand through egoic posturing and survival. And then your spirit's telling you, wait, just trust and let me guide you. But you panic sometimes, and then you're like, well, I got to go do something because bills are getting behind. I owe people money.
My character's on the line.
My character's on the line.
You care, my character. My image. My character. My image. My character is on the line, God.
It's horrible. Oh. It's horrible.
As he's going deep, bedrock digging and bringing up beliefs and more surrender.
That's what he's after. That's what it's after.
Causes you to search deeper and ask the deeper questions with him. So sometimes, I know even the Lord had told me, he goes, look, I can bring something like that. But it's like the one quote I think Graham Cook quoted years ago, what God allows in his wisdom, he could prevent with his sovereignty, but he allows it in his wisdom because there's a
deeper thing going on.
Yes, there's a greater reward. There's a greater, something that's going to help you expand. And of course, our egos are just in survival, fight or flight. I need, I want. And God's like, but wait. You signed up to learn this. This is what you wanted. This is the expansion you wanted. Just ask me deeper. Ask me. Go deeper.
And then, but like, what everybody deals with is the fear of man, right? To some level. Some people have really come to the point to where they don't give a rip what anybody thinks. And I say that in a good way. But, there's the Simon Cowell way, and then there's the Ascension way, right?
Yeah.
Where you're not hurting, you're
controlled
not intentionally
strength.
trying to hurt people's
Meekness,
feelings.
controlled strength.
But the very idea of what will they think of me if I don't pay on time, or what will they think of me if I don't be a person of integrity in this moment. But sometimes, you guys, I don't know about you, but sometimes you're put in a position to where you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And then you try to sell something that won't sell so you can pay something off. Or you try to borrow the money and you can't borrow it. You're put in this posture. You're put in a uncle position. You're put in a deadlock or a headlock, and you're like, uh-oh, I can't move. And so what is the issue underneath of that? The very idea, the very thought of you saying, I'm worried about what they think. That's what's going on. Oh, okay.
Carve.
Yeah, let's go underneath there and deal with the fear of man in this. And you're like, but it's not their fault that I owe, or it's not their fault that I'm, not coming through. But it's the very idea in you. The moment you turn, face,
and
receive, surrender, receive, and welcome, let it dissolve. What's the message? There it is. Oh, I just saw it. And boom, the money could come in immediately once you see it. Or the other person could just say, you know what, don't worry about it. It's
and then it's completely removed from
Right.
their memory, or they're like totally compassionate, like, oh, I know, I've had that happen to me before. No worries, you're good. While the whole time you were like stressed, and all this stuff's getting purged.
and it's you want to be a person of integrity. That's not what we're saying.
It's when
you're boxed in and you have
outside of yourself, things happen that you couldn't have controlled.
Yeah.
And then okay, advanced level, here we go.
How many of you have ever struggled in that scenario? Put a thumbs up or a heart or something. We'd love to see the feedback on that, because I tell you, we're living in this deep sense right now of the purge reckoning. That's the only way we know how to see it. It's like, okay, one moment I'm getting purged because it's coming up, and then the reckoning. It's like, I have to face this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Once I face it, what is the message? It's not that.
Once I feel it.
Notice how not one time have we said this is the devil doing this, because it's not. It's not.
I mean, I may have mentioned that the entities love to get that supply off of our low density, but we're still choosing it. We can cut that supply off anytime because we're sovereign and we can just choose. But
But the greater thing that's going on,
the greater thing we know,
is we're taking ownership of our lives, and this is happening all over the planet right now. Whether people believe in Christ or not, it's happening all over because the water level is rising. Wow. Awakening's happening to everyone because we're all connected. Whether we believe that or realize that or not, we are all connected. Yes. Some people just don't realize because they're doing their own survival thing. And feel it to heal it. That's right.
Yeah.
And because we're told in church land that we can't feel things. We can't go by our feelings.
Oh my
That is one of the biggest lies ever perpetrated. Now, we don't go by our emotions, the energy of emotion. That's different than feeling something, leaning in, sinking into feeling it.
Is your spirit. You're checking in with your spirit,
You're checking in with your spirit.
Sons and daughters of God are led by the Spirit. That's what we're talking about. You got to feel that. It's a feeling. It's a prompt. It's a nudge. It's an intuitive response. So
yeah, and energy and motion is like knee-jerk reactions, right? And then a feeling is sinking into SYNC.
And it's so present, right? Instead of a past meaning we've applied to a label like, oh, I know what this is. This happened to me last time. Oh, I know what's going to happen. It happened to me last time. Oh, watch, So we're automatically boxing a situation in because what is it doing? It's actually causing us not to feel and hear the message of the now. Because it's like the ego goes in, boop, don't let them feel. Oh, remember, you experienced this before, so this is what it is. And we experience the meanings we attach to things. And so we just keep looping until we finally take a deep breath, drop in, and feel and hear the message. To heal, right?
That's right, Carrie. You're cleaning the horse stalls out there, honey. The horse stalls are being cleaned right on out. And guess what? What happens after you clean the horse stalls?
Nice, fresh sawdust and a happy pony.
That's right. A happy pony. Let's have a happy pony in our life. And then here comes the next layer of stuff, Theo, right? You thought you were free from the fear of man, and then here comes the next layer. Why? Because we're multidimensional, eternal beings, and we've been so wounded and conditioned and programmed to believe something we're literally not. That's what the false matrix does. False matrix is everything we see outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
Aside from nature, right? It's all the man-made stuff. It's all the man-made programming, the conditioning that's put on us and placed on us. And the world is built upon it. The pyramid schemes, all of the hierarchy.
The ego, everything.
That's right. Where the real
agendas,
authentic nature, original matrix of who we are is more like synarchy. SYNARCHY. Synarchy is completely different than hierarchy. Synarchy is like the honeycomb and the beehive. Everyone working together in synchronistic fashion with no one higher, no one lower.
Just they're all in their different functions.
They're all in their different functions, and they all have a cell. Now they can corrupt that cell if they want because they're individualized, but the whole will look at that corrupt cell and will
move them out.
They'll move them out.
Kick them
out. Until the whole becomes healed. And so notice that honeycomb, that the actual shape, hexagon is one of the strongest there is in terms of geometry or putting things together and forming them. That's why the bees put the honeycomb together, because it's super strong. And it will, it's made to where they can keep each other warm in the winter, all that. There's all sorts of, but what's the end goal? Is for all of us
to return home.
To return home,
We're
but
waking up.
make the place sweeter than we found it. And honey doesn't rot, it doesn't go bad.
Yeah, and again, the original Matrix too, it is heaven culture. It's
is.
our original design. It's our original makeup of love and connection. It's the connected state to God and to each other. And so it's an amazing, amazing time we are in right now, even though it seems so dark and so much is being turned up, which needs to happen. So if we can make it through, guys, especially they're saying it's the next year or two, and then it's supposed to change in 27 where things, but right now we are in the birth canal, we're in this churning, we're in this,
That's right.
And so I just encourage you guys, keep allowing, let as much resistance as you can go. Stay in that surrendered state. Allow love to keep coming forward towards yourself and towards others. Allow yourself to play, and allow yourself, when you're going through it, say, this is okay. I'm allowed to feel this way. Again, feel to heal. And hear it. If you can't, write it out. I heard another person give a great example. If they don't have the words to get the pain or the agony out, because guys, it's mind blowing, the link to our mind body connection. So like grief is associated with lung cancer. It lies in the lungs. Pancreatic cancer is connected to anger, suppressed anger, and it's, again, and the grief in the lungs is attached to your molars. So if you're having molar problems, it's all related down into the meridian.
Bladder cancer, you're pissed off.
Yeah, bladder is associated with being pissed off. And there's so many women especially, men, prostate problems, but women having bladder issues. And so, again, this is what's being purged. We are having to feel and listen to the actual message.
It's trapped emotion.
Of what's going on.
All dis-ease. Trapped emotion.
All dis-ease. And so again, that's getting cleared. So if we can allow that, oh my gosh, we will feel so much better. So
I've done a lot of studies on that, where somebody just goes to like acupuncture and they know what they're doing, like a Chinese acupuncturist. They go in and just
like
do
the 5 basic.
They just do it. It can release so much trapped energy that actually releases you the dis-ease so that you can be free.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Carrie. That's amazing. Okay, so
that's fear.
Yeah, the
asthma is fear,
and there
anxiety.
Can be some attachment of what that relationship was or who she was, and so go feel into that deeper and ask. And you know what's amazing, you guys? You can actually ask yourselves, because they're all like little human beings. We've got our whole cosmos, trillion cells, city that we're in charge of. You can actually tune in and ask your heart and your organs, and to ask the asthma, what is going on? Tell me what's underneath
the message?
this. What do I need to hear? What are you trying to tell me? And listen, you'd be blown away.
Because we're taught in religion land to resist it, right? And
that it's bad.
That it's bad,
but
and you're
trying
resisting.
To let you know.
It's trying to give you a message. And what is that message? It's that dull ache of anxiety and the foreboding that something else bad is going to happen to my family. And that's what I'm getting right now, is that you have this underlying unconscious or subconscious belief that something else is going to happen to me or my family. It's not going to go well. And so because I lost the best friend, I lost my safety. So once a safety net has been removed, then you're like, okay, you're scrambling to find the next safety. And so now it's in the husband, or it's in another person or an individual or a certain situation or circumstance, usually in another person, right? And without it, it's subconscious beliefs, without us really realizing that. And so then you have this panic that takes place whenever something goes sideways, or your child gets hurt, or something goes wrong, or you're always panicking, going, is my husband, where's my husband? He's 5 minutes late, he's 10 minutes late, what's going on here? Or panicking every time you think about your mom. And this goes for anybody listening. I know this to be true because my nephew has suffered a lot with asthma. And the deep-rooted fear there has come out of his childhood. And I won't go into all details there, but the childhood and the anxiety and the fear that's like this dull, how would you describe it? A dull foreboding or a dull ache that goes on, and you're like, how can I actually settle in and feel freedom? It's like Amy was talking about the other day. She goes like, where's this discontentment coming from? I just want to be content. It just keeps coming up, discontentment. You know, and it's like, wait a minute, I am content on one hand, and I know that I can be, but why is it coming up?
Right. So then I had to examine and talk to the Lord about expectations. And part of it was because I had expectations of how I thought something was going to go. And oh gosh, I remember even years ago where he addressed me big time. He said, let go of the judgments and expectations you have about your life where you think you should be right now. And just, again, it's the be here now. It's the, accept the now, allow the now. But sometimes
one of the most challenging things for the ego.
And sometimes too, that you think of discontentment. It's like we're dissing the content. John came up with this the other day too. We're dissing the content of the now. And we're just so unsatisfied with it. And sometimes it's because it doesn't match where we know our true potential is and where we want to get. But again, it's usually our ego seeing with such nearsightedness, we don't even know what we need that's being added to us in the now, because we think, no, this over here is what's going to satisfy me. This is going to make me feel okay over here. This is where I need to be. This is my full potential. And little do we know, we're in a Karate Kid moment of wax on, wax off, and it's not making sense to our ego.
That's right.
Just saying.
Yeah, no expectations. And we were just talking about this the other day. Expectations come straight from ego. The ego expects a certain outcome. And when we live through expectancy, we're seeing a certain outcome that our ego wants to see. Living with no preferences and no expectations means living straight out of spirit.
Yeah.
Because then you live by surprise and wonder every moment of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, expectation is different than living for the joy of life, living because we are alive and we're breathing and we're just having fun playing. And you don't need expectations there because everything starts hitting you in surprise synchronicity. And then the synchronicities come in.
The limits are off.
The limits are off. The cap is off. The salary cap is off. The lid is off. We don't have to live through expectancy. I expect my husband to be a certain way. I expect my wife to be a certain way. I expect my kids to behave. I expect this trip.
Disappointment.
How many people go to Maui on a trip, then traveling, or to Nashville, or anywhere else in the world, and they're like, I expect such a wonderful time to take place. And then everything goes sideways. Well, it's because their ego planned the trip and they didn't live in unexpectancy, living in the free flow of the now moment where synchronicity and life and God and everybody else planning for you will give you an amazing time. Yeah. So I would say throw the plans out the window and let the flow happen. Hold on loosely.
And enjoy the experience of everything. This is where we're getting the juice from, is enjoying the experience. Enjoy the experience of your mate instead of trying to make them into what you need. Enjoy the experience of your children.
Trying to feel safe.
Enjoy the experience of the house you're in. Enjoy the experience of the place you're in. I know, again, easier said than done, but it is relieving when you can
really is.
Let go of the resistance of trying to hold everything together or change everything and all the rigidness, and then just like, wow, I get to experience this person sitting right next to me in their own authentic self. I get to experience, all this. And then it becomes, it brings you back to the childlikeness, you guys, of the 3-year-old or the 5-year-old that just slips you right into the spirit frequency. And then you just ascend and you get pulled up out all the other junk, It's just so much better.
Oh man, we heard a story. It reminds me. It's so good, you guys. This doctor was sharing this story about another doctor that was walking through his house, and he had a 3-year-old and he had a 7-year-old, 6 or 7 years old. Yes. And the 3-year-old is playing in there just like a normal 3-year-old.
It was like 6 a.m. in the morning.
It's 6 a.m. in the morning.
The doctor guy got up,
walking
grabbed his coffee, and he hears
he hears the kids, and they're talking, and the 7-year-old bolts across the hallway into the 3-year-old's room, and he says to the 3-year-old, remind me of what it's like. I'm starting to forget
who I am,
who God is, and who God is. I'm starting to forget. So really think about this. It's scientifically proven that when we pass the threshold of about 6 years old into 7, that's when the egoic formation happens. That's when the egoic veil comes on us.
It's even stronger. The patterns, the programming.
Survival.
The programming.
Survival. So we move into that, we start moving into that realm at that age. And so everybody has the fresh scent of heaven on them before the age of 7, so to speak. What is that a sign of? It's a sign of Christ saying, child, be childlike. Unless you become like a child, you will by no means see the kingdom that's within you. What is it? What he's talking about? You won't remember where you came from and who you are. You are a fractal of God. You are a part of heaven culture. And so heaven culture, what happens in heaven? Everything's provided. Everything's taken care of. Safety is always present because heaven culture is present. And what does the child do? Between the ages of 1 and 6, they spend their time playing.
Yeah.
To spend their time in play and postulate. This is why we shouldn't tell men to grow up and stop playing around.
Well, and that you mean stop playing.
You know what I mean. This is why we say things like, oh, the big boy toys. They got their big boy toys out there. Men want to have adventure because there's a childlikeness there. And I'm not talking out of balance stuff where you're the mama taking care of the boy when he's a grown man.
And they're getting you further in debt and you're stressing while they're out.
Right.
Who cares?
I'm talking about the childlike nature that says, I want to have fun and play. And women are like this too, but men, you see a lot of grown men running around wanting to be boys. There is the
adventure, the longing,
innocent side of that. There's a playful, pure side of that. And so it only gets corrupted by the ego, right? The ego just makes everything out of balance. But that's what the story was about. It's just like, oh my goodness, remind me of how effortless life was, little Bobby telling his brother that. Remind me of how fun and how freeing and how lighthearted. Remind me of how joyful.
Remind me how to fly, Peter. Oh, one of my favorite analogy movies was Hook, with the little kids when, they're like, there you are, Peter. And he grew up. He grew up, right? And once he started playing again, he was able to start seeing again in the spirit and things became tangible. This is the key, you guys. This is so the key. We'll get out of our seriousness. There is nothing serious going on here,
He's not the serious Jesus most of the time.
As much as we make it, why do we make things so serious and rigid?
It's really not.
Who can we really control?
The Jesus that I knew in religion was the serious one that was always ready to swing the hammer and crack the whip. Yeah. Crack the whip and overturn the tables at every turn, that I looked at somebody wrong. He's turning the tables over again. I'm in trouble. But when you start to really awaken, and you see Christ for who he is so hilarious and fun, loves to have a blast and fun with us. Yeah. If you don't think so, read my encounter in the book called Effortless Provision. It's on Amazon. If you haven't read it,
you guys.
That's the Jesus I know. And it's really, when we awaken, when we wake up more, the more childlike we become. There's a reason why we start like a child and we end like one.
Yeah, here we are. We have done years, over a decade in senior living with contract work and overseeing these big senior living communities, all different types, all the way to luxury, all the way to whatever. And you watch. I mean, they return. We all know the saying, they don't have any filter anymore. There's that side. It's but they also return to like little kids, but they want their ice cream and they want their cookie. Or they laugh. They're playing games. They're telling stories. They're, lighthearted. Most of them, except for the ones still holding on to a chip on their shoulder. But anyway, the point being, we all have seen it where they kind of revert back to
being childlike.
To simplicity.
So if it starts and ends that way, what the heck are we doing in the middle?
Oh my gosh.
We're acting like we're grown up and we know it all and we're trying to survive and we're making everybody miserable. Yeah. I'm tired of making people miserable. How about you?
Yes.
That's not the goal of being Christ-like.
Simplify. So,
simplify. You talking about me?
You talking to me, Willis?
That's right. I'm talking to myself too. I'm looking in the mirror. I'm saying, John, you toe up.
From the floor up. Oh my
Use a
goodness.
toe-up individual.
Thank goodness we keep saying, yes, Lord, save us. So
Anyway, we'll drop it there, I guess.
Yeah, we just
so much more, but we don't want to give you all our lives in one moment.
Yeah,
Do
all
we?
our laundry.
Do we?
No.
We've got enough, I guess.
Stay tuned for next week.
Yeah.
We'll let you know how it's going.
Well, yeah, we'll let you know about the next 5 days over Christmas. Yeah, guys, have fun. Good luck with that.
Yep, that's all right.
What?
Non-resistance. Oh, thank you, Terry. Love you too. All right, you guys.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy the ride. Paddles up. Go do something fun you enjoy and just release yourself from all the stress.
And when you face the family, some of the family you don't get along with or you get annoyed by,
Just laugh at that.
just remember that annoyance is there to show you something and reveal.
Yes.
So turn it towards it, face it, and
Welcome it in.
welcome it in, and see the message and let it pass right on through. You will disseminate and dissolve that thing quicker than you could ever do by resisting it. Trust us.
It's an energy game. It is an energy game.
It is.
I'm telling you guys. So, whew,
All right. All right. Have a good one.
We'll see you next time. Love you all.
Bye.